In this video, I want to explain why I told the HMRC about selling my own possessions, a topic that I'd covered in a video just a couple of days ago, and so I thought I would answer some of the key questions that had came up in the comments from viewers. Just to recap, I have moved here to Malaysia and have sold all of my life's possessions in the UK, which really were broken down into three categories: a record collection, which sold for £10,000, a DJ setup, which also sold for £10,000, and then personal possessions like television sets, a bed, some clothing, and a number of other items. And in total, I raised £38,000. Now, I explained in my last video about submitting a self-assessment to disclose if there was any capital gains. And if you watched that video right to the end, you'll have seen that I actually explained that there was no capital gains for me to disclose. However, I was submitting a self-assessment to HMRC. And so here is exactly why I did that. And I want to answer the most common questions that I received. And so the first question that I got was, why tell HMRC in the first place? Why disclose this information? So let me answer this. In 2024, HMRC agreed with all of the leading platforms, which were Vinted, eBay, Facebook, and any other sales platforms, that if a customer, if a client, if somebody registered on that platform, sold on their actual platform itself and raised more than £1,700, £1,700 in a calendar year, that platform would have to disclose it. So why would I tell HMRC? Well, HMRC simply already know. They already know that you're selling on that platform. When I sold my personal items on eBay, I very quickly received an email that looks like this to tell me that I was above the £1,700 threshold. Now, the threshold actually works in two ways. It's either a number of items sold, and in most of these occasions it's 30, or it's a £1,700 cash value. So HMRC already knows that you are selling on those particular platforms. And so the next question that I was asked was, why not just take cash? I sold a record collection and I sold a DJ setup, and why not just take cash? And the answer to that really is, well, what do you do with the cash when you receive it? What do you do with it? You put it in the bank, and all of the banks have an agreement with HMRC to flag any volume of cash that goes into your account that's not coming from a salary. So it's very difficult for you to potentially try and hide that money unless you're just going to sit on the cash itself. And cash itself is constantly depreciating. So you want to put that money in the bank. And so I sold a record collection to a company called EIL. Now, EIL is a business. It has a trading account, it reports. So it's going to tell HMRC that it paid me £5,800 for half of my record collection. HMRC then is going to know that they've submitted records and that I've received that money, and HMRC then is going to see that I've collected that cash and that it's gone into my bank account. So again, it's very difficult for you to potentially hide any of these transactions. That's why I'm simply getting ahead of this process by telling HMRC that I've sold my personal possessions and moved countries. It was really about getting ahead of the system. Now, the banks are reporting on you, eBay is reporting on you, Vinted is reporting on you, and beyond that, HMRC themselves are actually tracking your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube channels, your social media handles. It's looking at all of these things to see what standard of life you're leading. All of that is happening now. They're using AI systems. So one of the questions that I received was, do you think HMRC is really up to the job to track all of this? I think you're probably basing that opinion on potentially staff that works there, but you're missing the point in terms of the systems that they have that is actively going out and trawling through all of your records already, having a look at your bank account. So I thought that was just an important point to tackle off. Another question that I received was, why didn't I just take all of the items with me? The simple answer to that was I could have paid for shipping to move it out of the UK and take it to another country. However, I've moved to a nomad style of living. I am traveling with one suitcase with all of my clothes within it, and my wife has the same, and we're moving from territory to territory. We're staying here in Malaysia for 90 days on a tourist visa, and then we will leave and move to another country where we will live again on a tourist visa, and we are simply circling around Southeast Asia. So our goal is to live in Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Bali, and circle round those territories. Now, one of the questions that I was asked from all of that was, well, are you still paying tax in the UK? No. I've submitted a P85 form to the HMRC, which notifies them that I have left the UK as a taxpayer. I'm still a British citizen, so I can renew my passport. I can obviously do that if I need to. However, when it comes to tax, I'm no longer paying tax on any earnings. I earn here on YouTube. My money is paid into a UK bank account. However, I don't pay tax on that money in the UK because I'm no longer HMRC registered. And the next point of that question will be, well, do I pay tax here in Malaysia? Only once you become a resident or you stay here long enough to become a tax resident, which here in Malaysia is 180 days in a calendar year. So no, I'm not paying tax here either at this point. All right, next question. Can HMRC find out? Well, as I've just explained, HMRC already know. They already know you're selling on these platforms, eBay, Vinted, etc. And one of the points to make there is, well, they don't know that you're a trader. They don't know whether you're making profit or not. So if you sell £2,000, £10,000 worth of stuff, it's up to you to disclose whether you made money or not. And I'm simply getting ahead of the system to declare that I sold my own personal possessions to leave the country and that there was no profit in any of that. Do you want to take the risk of selling 10, 20, £30,000 worth of your stuff and hoping the HMRC just think that, well, they probably didn't make any profit and all of that? Because the risk factor here is that if HMRC have any questions against that, they can freeze your bank account. It's as simple as that. If you don't pay your council tax, they freeze your bank account. If you don't pay what they think they owe in tax, they freeze your bank account. I've left the country. I still hold a UK bank account. I don't want to run into any potential issues. So I'm simply getting ahead of the curve. I'm simply getting ahead of the system by submitting a self-assessment to declare, yes, I earned on eBay, yes, I earned on Facebook, yes, I earned on Vinted. The items that I sold were sold at a loss because they were my own personal possessions. And yes, I also took private payments from 2 separate businesses to sell a record collection, and I have evidence from a Discogs page that those were also sold at a loss. So, to answer the points in the last video, why tell them? They know. Why disclose it? Why not just take cash? What do you do with the cash? You need to put it somewhere, right? The banks are already telling them exactly how much you've got and where that money's came from. Cash deposit, transaction, PayPal send, another company buying your items. They know it all. You can't hide from it. So just be upfront, disclose it. If you're selling your items, don't worry about capital gains, but think a few steps down the line. How do they know you didn't make any profit? Just look after yourselves, people, if you're thinking about doing this. Now, I'll say this, I've moved out here, and if you want to know any more information about living in other countries and how I open bank accounts or keep my bank accounts in the UK, I have a weekly newsletter where I dive a little bit more into it. The link is in the description if you want to sign up. And if you're really serious about all of this, I have a small client base where I take one-to-one calls to talk about how I live my lifestyle out here. If you want to chat a bit more in detail about how I do all of this, you can reach out to me below. But beyond all of that, if you just want to subscribe and follow this channel and see what I get up to, I would really appreciate that. Thanks to everybody who watched the last video, and thanks to everybody who left a comment. Fascinating to read through everybody's opinions and thoughts and all of that, but I hope some of this has just helped clear up some of those points. Can't outrun the tax office. You can try, but it's not worth it. Thanks for watching.